Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of this wonderful webinar, our virtual meeting on the topic of illness to wellness. This is a series of webinar which has been being conducted by ASSOCHAM for the benefit of all our listeners. Today's topic is heart care during winters in COVID-19 era. This is a very, very actual topic which we all are worried and which we should all be worried about. And I'll tell you one very interesting thing, that this is something not that we are worried today, this is something that we've been worried, and the whole society has been worried since ages. Here I found a very interesting shloka that indicates that even in ancient civilization, in our ancient civilization, people understood what changes are taking place due to weather and what is the importance of especially cold in the cardiovascular and respiratory system. So here I'll try to read it out. Chaya prakopa prashma vayo grishmadishu trishu varshadishu tu pitasya shleshmana shishiratishu. This is from Ashtang Hridaya Sutra. What this actually means is that as the dashas change in the season, they cause different maladies. And the malady which is more common and prominent in winters is bronchitis and disease of cough and cold and things like that, which are very much related to our today's topic, that is heart care during winters. We understand that problems related to heart become more severe, there are more aggravations, there are more complications during winters. So we have gathered today a galaxy of stars, I would say, stalwarts in the field of heart care, cardiologists, who are going to enlighten us about these aspects of heart care. Now, I would very humbly request Sri Anil Rajputji, the chairman of CSIR committee of ASSOCHAM, to welcome our guests and to set the ball rolling. Sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Rajesh Keshri. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Dr. K.K. Talwar, Padma Bhushan, Chairman PSRI, Heart Institute and former HOD, Cardiology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Dr. Balbir Singh, Padma Shri and Chairman, Cardiac Sciences, PAN Max Healthcare, Dr. Rajesh Keshri, Founder and Director, Total Care Control. Distinguished participants and friends, at the outset, let me wish you all a very happy new year. A year which for millions has brought in a renewed feeling of hope. After all, 2020 was unlike any other year for mankind. It was the year when the COVID-19 pandemic shook the world with a force unlike any other. What began as any virus spread to all parts of the globe, afflicted nearly 86 million people, and caused over 1.86 billion fatalities. In India alone, 10.3 million people suffered its wrath and 150,000 lost their lives. 2020 was also a year when the medical fraternity rose up to the challenge, and despite the complex nature of the COVID virus, showcased its unwavering spirit. And as a result, today we are at a stage where vaccinations had already been given to ward off this virus. This deserves a huge round of applause for our doctors, scientists, frontline health workers, and many others who fearlessly dedicated themselves to the cause at their own risk. We are indeed in their debt. What made this situation extremely complicated was the far-reaching impact of the virus on the human body. People reported issues with their kidney, liver, blood, and much more, along with extreme mental trauma and anxiety. The virus challenged the limits of our bodies and minds alike. Nearly 30% of those who recovered from the disease reported post-COVID anxiety disorder, which, as we know, can take months to recover from. Heart disease has remained the leading cause of death worldwide for the last 20 years and accounts for 16% of the total deaths according to the World Health Organization. After China, India has the highest number of heart diseases related deaths. The prevailing COVID situation therefore puts those with this ailment at an even greater risk. Add to this bad air quality along with season of winter. To put it simply, this is a time when those with heart ailments need to be extremely careful. While heart attacks can occur during any season, there is an increased risk of certain types of heart attacks during winters. Angina or chest pain due to coronary heart disease can worsen in winter when coronary arteries constrained in the cold. Furthermore, the heart has to work extra hard to maintain a healthy body temperature, and the winter wind can make it even more difficult as it causes the body to lose heat more quickly. And we all know that those with underlying conditions find the fight against the COVID virus much more challenging. I will not get into the details of all this as we have the best minds on the subject of the heart. We look forward to their observations, views, guidance, and assessment of this very important topic. I wish this webinar my very best and look forward to an engaging session. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind. Over to Dr. Rajesh Kesri.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your wishes and your kind introduction. I would take from here and I would give a brief introduction of both our renowned panelists, even though they don't need any introduction. They are very famous and very popular, but few words about both of them. This is not very comprehensive, but still. Dr. K.K. Talwar, he is a Padma Bhushan awardee. Dr. Keval Kishan Talwar is renowned cardiologist and a former chairman of the Medical Council of India. He is a former head of department cardiology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and director of the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. Before joining PSRI Hospital, he was chairman cardiology department at Max Super Specialty Hospital, Saket, for more than 6 years. He is claimed to have performed the first implantation of implantable cardioverter defibrillator therapy in South Asia and has been featured in the Limca Book of World Records in 1997. He is also credited with introduction of cardiac resynchronization therapy in India, also listed in Limca Book of World Records. He is a recipient of several honors, including Dr. B.C. Roy Award, the highest Indian award in medical category. He is a former president of National Academy of Medical Sciences and a fellow of Indian National Science Academy. The government of India awarded him the third highest civilian honor of Padma Bhushan in 2006 for his contributions to medicine. His work on cardiac arrhythmia helped develop it as a specialty in India and developed heart failure and heart transplant program at AIIMS. His work has been documented by way of several publications, which include 240 articles and 270 abstracts published in various peer-reviewed medical journals. He has also contributed 15 chapters to various medical texts. So thank you so much for sparing your time and joining us, Dr. Talwar. Thank you, sir. And
Thank you, sir.
brief introduction. Thank you, sir. Welcome again. And a brief introduction about Dr. Balbir Singh. He is the chairman of cardiology, PanMax. He heads the entire cardiology and is responsible for development, quality, clinical governance, and other important health-related work at the Max Hospital. And he's a graduate and postgraduate from Maulana Medical College, Delhi, and thereon he went on to work at AIIMS in New Delhi and has been on a faculty position at AIIMS. With his experience of research and training at AIIMS, he also heads the DNB program in cardiology at Max Saket. And he's earlier been a consultant and a specialist in Medanta, the Medicity chairman, cardiology and electrophysiology, Apollo Hospital senior consultant, Fortis Heart Institute and Research Center principal consultant, Batra Hospital senior consultant, and AIIMS, he's been a senior professor. His education and training, he's, as I said, graduate and postgraduate from Maulana Medical College, TM Cardiology from GB Pant Hospital in the same campus, and he's done fellowship of the American College of Cardiology, USA in 2005. And the awards to his credit, he's been awarded the coveted Padam Shri in 2007, Best Operator at India Live 2016, Golden Hand Award at AICT Singapore 2012, and Best Late Breaking Trail at APHRS Taiwan. So very a warm welcome to you, Sir Dr. Balbir Singh, and once again thank you to you for joining this webinar and sparing time. Now I would like to ask a question to Dr. Talwar. What is it? Should we really be worried about the venters, especially those who have heart ailments and heart problems? What happens to basic parameters like blood pressure? Does it rise?
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. You see, the winter is a stress to the heart. The blood pressure goes up, the heart rate goes up, and so then there is also a possibility that in the winter, the coagulopathy or the system, which leads to some thrombotic issues, also probably gets disturbed and maybe more prone to clotting kind of a thing. So winter has been a stress to the heart, and I think we always advise those, particularly those who have a heart problem, that they have to be careful during winter by going out and so that winter is. And today, when this winter particularly, I think as Mr. Alpuji tried to mention about the COVID issue, I mean, that I think one which probably has shaken the whole medical world in 2020. We hope the 21 is looks more optimistic because of some developments. But the COVID-19 issue is that patients with heart problem, they are more prone to catch COVID, and they have far more complications also. Like the mortality is 10 to 15 times more in people who have a cardiac. So I think this winter, because of the ongoing COVID also, I think is a double kind of issue that we have to be cautious. So not that they have to try to protect themselves from the COVID. They still don't have the, I mean, vaccine will take some time before it's freely available for this group of people. And plus, as I mentioned, that winter is because of the some hemodynamic issues, rise in blood pressure, rise in pulse rate, some coagulation issues also. It's another. So I think this particular winter is going to be much more the patients who have a heart problem, they must take more precautions, both to prevent themselves from getting COVID, as well as, of course, taking precaution that if you're going out, cover yourself properly. And I think good that everybody has to wear a mask. That helps you take, I think, breathe the warm air. That's also a good thing. I mean, earlier we used to say, if you are wearing a scarf, put it above, over your nose also. But now I think mask is very vital for everybody. This is like as is being called social vaccine in this particular disease. So I think these are the precautions that one should take, those who have a cardiac problem because of this winter issue, as well as now presently the COVID issue also.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to move away from the bad aspects because we know all about the COVID and the grim situation. I'd like to ask Dr. Balbir Singh, sir, have you noted any positive change because of the lockdown and because of the face mask, as I was telling, and because of people still being at their homes? Is it better actually for heart patients, because most of the people are not moving out of the house unless it is very necessary, and now they're keeping away, probably they're at home, they are warm also. So do you think that this winter is actually going to be better for the heart patients? Dr. Balbir, sir.
So first of all, Dr. Rajesh, thank you for having me here on this forum, and Mr. Anilji for having invited me. And my greetings to Professor Talwar on this stage. We have been together in All India Institute. And Dr. Talwar brought out a very important point about mask. Now, if we look at Corona has taught us some lessons which we should not forget. One of the important lessons Corona has taught us is a mask. You know, with Corona, we see that the other kinds of flus and other kinds of pneumonias are lesser.
Exactly.
It's the Corona which is high, but others have come down. So this is because of the mask. You know, in our institution, going from one patient to another patient, there was a mandate every doctor should scrub his hands with the sanitizer before moving from one bed to another. In the pre-corona era, this was one mandated dictum for doctors that when you move from one bed to another one, sanitize your hands. And many doctors weren't following this properly. After Corona came in, now the sanitization has become a part of life. The hospital-acquired infections have come down. So because everybody is sanitizing hands, patients are. So these are good habits which should not die down. So it is important that we continue to use mask when we go into a crowded place, when we go to metros. This mask should become a life, you know, in the future also. The corona will go up, many other different coronas will come. It's not the end of viruses. It is not end that after we achieve a vaccine and stop corona that we have got a victory over viruses. They are not going to end. Another form will going to come up. So if we inculcate this habit, it doesn't mean that you wear mask everywhere. At least in crowded areas, even when corona goes away, I would suggest mask and sanitization should continue to be a practice in human life until we find something great or outstanding. Some Nobel laureate comes and makes something, some of these viruses just go away. Till that time, I guess this corona end should not bring the end to masks.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really very interesting and enlightening. I would come up with a related question to Dr. Alwar, sir. It's been seen, and it usually is the fact that during winters there are more viral infections, there is more of cold, cough, and allergies. Do they somehow contribute to worsening of cardiac situations? And as just Dr. Balbir Singh was saying that maybe these infections are going to be lesser, pneumonias are already being noted with a lesser frequency because of the contribution of face masks. So do these infections, which usually are more and more severe in the winters, do they somehow contribute to the worsening of a cardiac patient?
Well, flu has been said in the winter, flus are common, and that's why I think flu vaccine, influenza vaccine, is sort of advised every year to particularly patients who are elderly or have cardiac problem. Because if you get a flu, you get more heart rate, you get more stress on the heart. So I think in particularly in this winter, because of the COVID issue, I think all patients who are having a cardiac problem, I'll say everybody beyond the age of probably maybe 70 plus or 65 plus should have a influenza vaccine. And even patients who have a cardiac problem, they should also take a pneumococcal vaccine, because these are the two infections which are commoner in winter and has been a source of stress and may create more cardiac issues, cardiac problems, worsening of failure, getting heart attacks. So I think these two vaccines, probably in this COVID era, till we are able to sort of win over this particular stress that we are all going through, I think influenza vaccine and pneumococcal vaccine, I think with all patients who have a cardiac problem, I think should have it as a prophylactic dose. Influenza vaccine, mostly the new strain changes. It comes in October or so, and then next October, pneumococcal vaccine, of course, is a. So I think these two precautionary vaccine should be taken. I think to everybody who has a cardiac problem, just to protect themselves from these two issues which can aggravate your cardiac problem.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a very good advice that all patients, in fact, as he said, that all individuals above the age of 65 probably should take an influenza vaccine, and especially those with cardiac ailments should also take influenza and a pneumococcal vaccine, if I'm right. Thank you, sir. I'd like, you wanted to add something, sir?
No, I just wanted to say something more about the mask, because in
Yes, sir.
sometimes we use mask, we say only in the open. I will say elderly people who have a cardiac problem, even while sitting at home, if there are people, young other people around you, wear a mask at home also. Because I think that's we will never know. This is one disease, COVID, where 70%, 80% may be asymptomatic, and they transmit during the infection when they are not even aware of it. So for elderly people, particularly sitting in a closed place in winter, the windows are often closed, ventilation is less. So I'll say even they should be advised to use mask even at home. I mean, just to be extra cautious.
Yes, sir. That was very important fact, and thank you so much for that. Dr. Balbir Singh, sir, I would like to come to you, and I would like to ask you a question that I see in OPDs frequently people say that कि डॉक्टर साहब हमारा बीपी तो सर्दियों में हमेशा बढ़ा रहता है, तो कोई बात नहीं, चलने दो, ये normal है. So I think some people have this perception that the blood pressure usually rises, and in winters they have a different norm, and in summers maybe there's a different norm. But we all understand that high blood pressure would ultimately lead to complications. So, sir, what would you like to advise to our listeners about this, about the blood pressure issue?
So it is normal, it is quite usual that the BP will rise in winters. This happens because of the cold weather causes spasm in the arteries, the peripheral arteries, the resistance goes up. So when the resistance goes up, the blood pressure goes up. But it is not correct to say that it is just normal, this is going to happen, so I will not treat it. You have to treat it. You have to bring it down below the normal levels, which may have been defined for each particular person. It may be different. You have to bring down below 140 by 90 as a general rule for all people, whether it is winter or summer. So I advise my patients who are hypertensive that in winter months, your blood pressure is going to go up. You will need a rise in medicine. And even we tell them that this medicine, you can double the dose in winters because this is important. You have to control it. It is going to go up, but doesn't mean that it has gone up because of winter, so you just leave it at that. You cannot leave it at that. You have to prevent. And one thing we have to remember, by treating hypertension to the normal levels, we reduce the incidence of brain stroke by more than half, reduce heart failure and heart attacks by more than half, reduce kidney disorders by more than half. If the benefit is too much by taking one extra pill, one has to do it, because there cannot be a better way of preventing a stroke, heart failure, or a renal failure, which can really be very hurting later on in life. So these simple things have to be understood by the population very well. That a good control of blood pressure in winters is important.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So it is very important for all of us to keep our blood pressures always under control, whatever be the season, whatever be the reason. Dr. Talwar, is it true that many of our colleagues say that winters they have cardiologist colleagues, they say that in winters they have a very busy morning because they get a lot of calls very early in the morning. Is it true that heart attacks happen more frequently early mornings? Is there some reason for it? Is it true, first of all, sir?
Yes, that's very right. I think in early morning, the blood pressure, the diurnal variation goes up. The heart rate also goes up. So that is the time period when heart attacks or strokes are more common. So that's, I mean, suppose somebody is hypertensive, we always try to make sure that you try to regulate the medication so that the evening dose is there to try to control the morning surge. So this is a known fact. This is a diurnal body's variations that early morning, I mean, before you wake up around, the blood pressure goes up, the heart rate goes up, and that makes you more prone to both the heart attacks as well as the strokes. And this is winter being another stress. So I think this is I mean, you're right. I mean, this is common. I mean, you have to be little more concerned in this weather and take
Okay,
precautions.
thank you so much. So, sir, is there, yes, thank you, sir. So, is there any way of knowing? I mean, is it always that if a person has normal blood pressure, then the person walks into the clinic or measures it at home, like home BP, that their blood pressure in the morning also changes? Because, like in diabetes, we see that there are dippers, non-dippers. How to measure that? Could you, I mean, any of you who would like to elaborate on that about the role of continuous blood pressure monitoring or something like that? What can we further advise to our patients or listeners?
The home reading is always a better index than the hospital reading, because there's always the element of a little anxiety when you go through. That's why we say white cold hypertension also. So home reading is the and as far as what you mentioned about the ambulatory blood pressure recording, that's only
Yes,
in
yes.
some situations. When somebody is you want to monitor 24 hours, the control is good or not, so that's the only for that purpose. I don't think that routinely everybody should go for ambulatory monitoring blood pressure. Of course, the home reading is a much more reliable or more better index of the blood pressure than the hospital reading, and this is now advocated also.
So, what should be the
So
take-home
everybody,
message for our list? Yes, what should be the take-home message, or rather number, for our listeners today? That if ever they measure their BP, it should be less than this. As Dr. Balveer said, it is 140/90. Is that what we should convey to our listeners, sir?
yes, what he said is very right. That 140 by below 90, they should get. And only thing is, people who are diabetic or has some kind of kidney issue, where there we do recommend that probably the upper one you may try to make it 130, which make sure that is below 130, and the lower one is below 80, 85 kind of a thing. But otherwise, what he said for a normal individual below 140, 90 is okay.
Thank you so much, sir. So one more thing which I have noted and which we see always in winters is that winters is food festival. Actually, there's so many tasty things to have and so many sweets and sarson ka saag and makki ki roti with lots of butter and ghee. So does that also play some havoc on the cholesterol levels?
So this is a very mixed thing. Sarson ka saag is good. Makke ki roti is very good, but that makhan top of that is
Yes.
good if in moderation. If you use too much makhan, it may be bad. But if you use in moderation, there is nothing wrong with it. So as physician, as cardiologist, I know you are used to hearing that makhan nahi khana, ghee nahi khana. I am one of those who does not say that nahi khana, kam khana. That is the key thing. You know, if you look at the ratio in Desi ghee of omega-3 fatty acids and unsaturated and monosaturated fats, it's not bad. But if you exceed it, it becomes really bad. So if you do it in moderation, makka is good, sarson ka saag is excellent, and if you add little bit of butter, I wouldn't mind it. So it is not wrong. I don't want to give you a fear that you are doing a crime by having this. I am not one of those cardiologists. I know the benefits also. So
Thank you. So
everything in moderation is good.
we understand that Dr. Balveer Singh ji is speaking from his heart.
Yes, true.
Sir, Dr. Talwar, what is your opinion of Desi ghee? Because this is a very important issue, and we like to ask all cardiologists, what do you say? What is your suggestion about Desi ghee?
You see, I agree with Dr. Balveer. Reason being that this saturated fat, of course, ghee has a omega 6 and 3 ratio, which is very beneficial. Only issue is the quantity. If you ask me, we say somebody that okay, if you can limit to 5 gram of your desi ghee the whole day, and butter is one of the so thing that then it's fine. But we must also realize that we also take desi ghee when we take milk, when we take cheese. So you have to really count. Idea is that you be sure, and then there's another. I think probably I do follow say that whatever you eat, if you can burn it, is fine. If you can't burn it, then it is going to trouble you. As you said, you do exercise for 2 hours in the morning. I mean, so if you are burning
Hello.
सिग्नल वीक हो गया उनका.
We create so much fear in the individual's
Hello.
mind. वो हर एक चीज को डर के ही देखते हैं. वो नहीं होना चाहिए. You should understand what is the value, what is the limitation, what is the harm, and then accordingly you may. I hope it
Thank you so much,
satisfies
sir.
you.
Yes. It is very satisfactory for me. And I would like to come because we would like to touch upon the topic of burning. But before that, I would like to touch upon one more topic. I would come to a different part of the menu, that is aloo ka paratha. It's also very popular in North India. And aloo ka paratha with achar is very tasty, at least to me. But this brings to fore that we probably eat a lot of salt also in winters with all the food. So what would you like to say about this? This is an open question, please.
So I'll
About
come back
the
to aloo ka paratha business.
Do
Now,
you want to take
aloo ka paratha, if we look at the ingredients of aloo ka paratha, so it has carbohydrates, which is in form of atta. It has aloo, which is again a carbohydrate source. Then it generally has desi ghee. It could be oils also, but it generally has saturated fats. Plus salt, mirchi I don't mind. So a lot of salt. And then on top of that comes the butter. Now this is all bad ingredients. It is what you said, makke ki roti, sarson ka saag, that was good ingredients. This has all bad ingredients. So my patients will ask this question very often because winters they love to have aloo ke parathe, and I know of the Punjabi families, they won't settle less than 3 or 4 aloo ke parathas in the breakfast. All this is really bad. So I allow them on Sunday to have one paratha in the morning, and that is all I do because I know this is bad for them, for the heart patients.
Sir, Dr. Talwar.
You see, कहते हैं ना कि how we have spoiled our food. सिंपल रोटी से हमने पराठा कर दिया उसको, पराठे से हमने स्टफ पराठा कर दिया, उसके बाद ऑयली पराठा कर दिया. सो ये ना दीज आर ऑल वे एंड दीज आर ओके फॉर द. सिमिलरली आप राइस लो, कहते हैं राइस को हमने उसको पुलाव बना दिया, फिर बिरयानी बना दिया. I mean, if you look at these, that these are the way of it. It goes, it gives you more taste, thing kind of thing, but you spoil your. I mean, these are certainly not. I mean, occasionally it is okay, but not that is kind of a routine. So because that's how the problem is. And if you I mentioned something more, I mean, if somebody is taking 2 paranthas even, but he's doing exercise, a field, he goes to the field, he's sort of a far, they're different. Because I recall my father used to say, yaar, wo to hamesha desi ghee khate the. But I knew that what was his routine, cycling to the field for 10 kilometers daily. So it's linked to that, but of course this is the way we are spoiling our food. Simple chapati to paranthas, to stuffed paranthas, fried paranthas, kind of a thing. So I think we should avoid these kind of thing. Of course, occasionally it is okay.
Thank you, sir. What I wanted actually was, then I'd put it bluntly, I would request you to tell our viewers ki namak nahi khana.
Oh yes, salt also restriction is very vital. Oh, I agree with you.
But I
So,
will add to that, namak nahi
yes.
khana, I will add to this also, that namak in small amounts is essential for the body. So some of the hypertensive patients completely salt free ho jati hai unki diet, which is also bad. So they should have normal salt. They should not add extra salt in their diet. They should not use achars and papads, which are bad because they contain all processed foods. All fast foods have large amount of salt. They have to be avoided. But some amount of salt is important in diet because low salt can also cause problems.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was really very interesting, and that would be very useful.
4 to 5 grams salt daily is a must also. I mean, that's what he's trying to emphasize. Okay.
I've seen a study in which it was done an epidemiological survey in Delhi that average elite is taking more than 2 times the recommended salt, the daily salt dose. So that really is very important in decreasing the blood pressure and related complications. I'd like to come now to the topic that you had mentioned and you were talking about, Dr. Talwar. Fortunately, we had some very avid walkers present with us on the podium, I would like to say, who do walk for 2 hours. coming to the exercise and walking and burning of calories part, what is your suggestion? Who should go out for walks? Who should exercise? Who should refrain from exercise, especially in the view of low temperatures in the mornings? Who should be careful? What is your general recommendation, both of you, about exercise for heart patients, especially in winters?
Well, you see, exercise is very vital for the body. One must exercise, and we usually say about 30 minutes walk must. Now, what you have mentioned about the winter issue, and there is a cardiac patient, there is a little advice to them. That don't, if you don't go when it's very cold outside, because it can be stress on you. Go when it's little, the temperature is little less cold kind of thing. You can wait for the time of the day when there is some sun, and cover up yourself properly, dress yourself properly, because that's also very vital for that. And another thing that we usually used to mention to the patients that okay, जब आप सैर में जाते हो तो जो अपना मफलर वगैरह जरूर रखो, और मे बी यू कैन रैप इट अराउंड योर नोज, सो दैट जो एयर भी आप लेते हो थोड़ा वार्म एयर लेते हो, rather than a total very cold air that you inhale inside. But now I think everybody has to wear a mask, so that I think a mask also helps you from that. So walking is important, whether you do games, whether you do walking, whether you do play some games. Of course, I think they say playing game is better than the walking. The reason being is that when you are playing, your mind is just in the game. You're not thinking of anything. But when you're walking, you're still thinking something or the other. So that's why
That's
the
very true.
play game is a much better exercise than even walking. So that's, of course, in addition, yogas, physical exercises for your muscles, for your joint, they are in addition useful. So I mean, exercise, frankly, I see always, it's like oiling your body. I mean, you have to oil a machine. I mean, this is like oiling your body, and I think it's very, very important. Only thing is a precautionary for those who are having a cardiac problem in the winter. They must make sure they avoid going out in this sort of a winter, and go at a time when the temperature is not bad, and cover themselves very adequately. I hope it's. Honorable, we can
Yes.
add to this.
Yes, thank you, sir.
So what Professor Talwar has said is very, very appropriate. But today somebody was asking me, how do you compare the youngster days of yours with the youngsters now? Is the stress more, physical exercise more? You know, Dr. Talwar mentioned about sports. He was a great hockey player. I was a great cricket player. So, but in the school, 2 hours we spent playing. Even in the college, I did that. But you don't see youngsters do now. Yesterday, I had a heart patient who is in an IT company. He's 38 years old. So I asked him, how much do you exercise? He said, sir, time ही नहीं मिलता. 8-10 घंटे मेरा डेस्क जॉब है, कंप्यूटर पे लगा रहता हूँ, उसके बाद टाइम ही नहीं मिलता. मैंने कहा 10 घंटे चलो लगा लिया, बाकी 14 घंटे में 1 घंटा तो निकाल सकते हैं अपने आप के लिए. कह सर बस 8-10 बज जाते हैं ऑफिस में, फिर उसके बाद में क्या करते हो? कहते पब में चले जाते हैं, बिल्कुल ऑफिस के बाहर पब है, तो 1-2 ड्रिंक लगाते हैं. मैंने कहा उसके साथ क्या खाते हो? कहते बटर चिकन या फिर तंदूरी चिकन. तो दिस इज द लाइफस्टाइल youngsters are having. They will get into trouble. So we have to save our country. This young population has to be told that exercise is very important. We are losing for the country a lot of productivity by these young population who are becoming smokers, lack physical exercise, or always on the net, online, on the computer. And this habit is really deadly for the country. I think more we emphasize on exercise, less it is.
Thank you so much, sir. So it is very important for us and for each and every individual to exercise daily. This is the message that we are getting. At least 30 minutes of walk daily is very important. And as Dr. Alwar said, that playing games, and Dr. Balbir added to that, is actually really wonderful. So coming on from this, I would like to
can I say something more on exercise?
Please. Yes.
You see, even office people who are busy, we advise them that वहाँ पे भी don't use lift. If you're going to second, third floor, walk stairs, go down the stairs. Even during working hours, whatever exercise you can do, you should do that. Even walking from one block to the other, don't wait for the car to sort of take you there. If it's a walkable distance, people should also in their duty hours try to do as much walking as possible. Which so that's because आजकल ये हो गया ना, लिफ्ट है तो ऊपर क्यों चढ़ना है, लोग वेट करते हैं वो ज्यादा सेकंड थर्ड फ्लोर जाने में जल्दी पहुंच जाएंगे और लिफ्ट वेट करने में टाइम, सो ये थोड़ा सा जो चीजें हैं. आई रिकॉल व्हेन आई वाज डूइंग माय मेडिसिन ट्रेनिंग इन पीजीआई, आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ 70s अर्ली, लिफ्ट के बाहर जो हमारे डायरेक्टर से लिखा हुआ था वहां पे, एक्सरसाइज इज गुड फॉर द हार्ट, motivated people not to use lift unless you have to go to 7th 8th floor kind of a thing. So I thought in routine also people should realize that you can do some exercise which may be helpful.
That's really useful. One more thing, sir, I would request you to add on. Who should not exercise?
So,
You see, please Balbir, go ahead.
So, first, let's understand what is the form of exercise we are talking about. We are talking about walking, we are talking about jogging, we are talking about sports, right? Now, in each of these activities, there are precautions. For example, if there's a sports player, there are some kind of genetic syndromes which make them prone to sudden death. We have all seen people fall on football fields and died. We have seen a
Right.
basketball player die on a field. So they have genetic
Right.
diseases. So in European countries, it is important for any person who goes into an athletic sports or competitive sports, he is screened for a heart disease before they are advised. So similarly, if somebody has a family history of sudden death, he should get himself screened before he goes into sports or running activities. Then if patient already has a heart disease, we don't advise them to run. We advise them to do brisk walking, do routine walking. If they're using a treadmill, do it at a speed of 5 to 6. Don't overexert yourself. So running also has now become a risk factor for heavy heart disease. Because competitive sports and running brisk, fast running marathons is not a great idea. So people may think that he was a marathon runner. How did he get a heart attack? It is possible. So some amount of exercise, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, brisk walking, even mild jogging, cycling, swimming, they're excellent. But don't overexert yourself.
That was wonderful, sir. Thank you. So you wanted to add something, Dr. Talwar?
No, it's fine. I think is that some people who have genetic issues, they must have evaluation before they go for competitive exercises. And the cardiac patient, I think there's a kind of you must also limit to your symptoms. Suppose you, I mean, walking or getting
Exactly.
shortness of breath,
Exactly.
that you should not overdo that time. You should limit to that.
Exactly. Exactly. I would take up Dr. Balbir Singh's patient and I would like to go up from there. What is the role of alcohol intake, especially in winters, in causing cardiac issues and problems?
Okay, so alcohol is a very debated topic. So there have been data which
Yes.
suggested that red wine or alcohol prevents heart attacks. I think this has been overblown. This is not true. There is a study by Public Health Foundation of Indian people using alcohol. It was not found to be protective. In fact, harmful. So why is it harmful in India? The answer is very simple. Answer is that if you go to any pub and just observe, I hope the observer is not drunk. He is just observing few tables. Just observe. Don't drink. Observe. You will find with the drinks, the amount of food they eat is tremendous. Very high caloric food, very high saturated fats, which is dangerous. The second thing Indians do is binge drinking. So binge drinking means that 4 days a week you don't drink, or 5 days a week you don't drink. आज मंगलवार आज नहीं मैं पी सकता, आज शनिवार है नहीं पी सकता, 3-4 दिन तो ऐसे निकल जाते हैं. एक दिन ड्रिंक की तो आधी बोतल पी ली. So this is called binge drinking, and binge drinking is also found to be harmful. So Indians should not go with the idea that alcohol is protective. On the other hand, I don't want to say people should be completely teetotaler or completely abstain alcohol. They can have in moderation. So what is in moderation? 1 or 2 small drinks a day is moderation, 5 times a week. This is moderation. You can have, it is not going to be harmful unless you have some other problems like heart function, which is less. Then we advocate no alcohol at all, or your liver enzymes are bad, we advocate no alcohol. But whenever a heart patient drinks, he has to check with his physician whether he can drink or not. And don't go with the idea that alcohol prevents heart disease.
Thank you, sir. That was very, very important. Sir, Dr. Talwar, would you like to add something?
I think, as rightly said, small amount is okay. We say around 45 cc whiskey or maybe 360 beer, one glass of wine kind of thing, because that I think is more like a anti-anxiety. I mean, people feel more relaxed. I mean, from that, it's nothing any benefit to the
Hello. Hello.
नॉर्मली हम कहते हैं कि अगर एको पे 60% होना चाहिए, वो 30-40 उनमें थोड़ा ज्यादा रिस्की आ जाता है. देयर आई थिंक वन एडवाइस देम टू अवॉइड अल्कोहल. Then hypertensive again must limit to very small amount, because you take more you can get the blood pressure can get very high. And the winter issue is that if you take large drink and go out, and because your blood vessel dilate, and that is also an issue. So I think small amount is okay as more of a anti-anxiety kind of anti-stress, you can say, but nothing that it gives any benefit to the heart. So we never say anybody that if you're not drinking, you start drinking. But those who are drinking, that the moderation is very vital. And binge drinking, as you mentioned, even a young people getting heart attacks is mostly smoker and binge drinkers.
Yes,
I
I think
hope it
that is.
answers your queries.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is very important. The important issue is that we should give the right message to our audience that alcohol should be taken in very, very moderate quantities, because people at times have this impression that alcohol is actually good, so they can have more of it in winters. They have it in winters, they have all the problems. They go out in the winter and they might have a heart attack on the street, and they're having a lot of calories with as snacks, as Dr. Balbir Singh has said. So alcohol should be avoided. This is our message to our audience. One important issue that you brought up, sir, Dr. Talwar, is stress. What is the role of stress in heart disease? And is it more during winters? Is it aggravated during winters?
See, as far as the stress, I don't think the weather has, because winter will add another risk factor, you can say. Not that it adds to stress. Stress is a kind of issue which I am sure these days anybody who wants to grow in life has to face stress. So I think this is a common thing. Only thing how you have to address, how you have to tackle the address, that I think stress, that I think I consider in my opinion the most important to tell people, because you can't avoid stress if you have to grow. Only thing is that okay, there are certain ways you can have relaxation. That's also too much stress can also increase catecholamines, make you more prone to heart attack, the blood pressure, hypertension. तो कहते ही है ना कि जब tension ज़्यादा हो जाती है, that's why this word came from that even. So वो थोड़ा how you handle your stress is very vital. And personally I feel that exercise is one way of reducing your stress. Talking to your colleagues, close ones, sharing whatever your stresses are is also some way. Sharing also helps you reduce the stress. If you do not share, you it keeps on. I think अंदर हमें वो थोड़ा सा आपको help करता है. और एक ना थोड़ा जो आपका एटीट्यूड है बड़ा मैटर करता है. मतलब I feel there is kind of spiritual attitude which I feel. I'm not talking of religion. I'm talking of spirituality as such, attitude. वो कहते हैं ना अगर आप किसी को हेल्प करो आपको फीलिंग थोड़ा सेटिस्फेक्शन आती है, एंड दैट गिव्स यू आल्सो ए गुड. पीपल से दैट दोस हु आर कनिंग इन देयर हैबिट्स, देयर आर सम स्टडीज फ्रॉम इजराइल that they get more heart attacks and more blood pressures. So if you are good in your dealing, you are honest in your dealing, जो आप अंदर हो वही बाहर, वही चीजें भी बहुत हेल्प करती हैं. बट स्ट्रेस तो पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ है अगर आपने ग्रो करना. तो इसलिए हाँ थोड़ा सा कई लोग रिलीजन ऑल्सो हेल्प्स. तो आपने देखा होगा कि जो आप कभी इफ यू बिलीव इन रिलीजन, वी गो टू टेम्पल और एनी गुरुद्वारा, योर माइंड इज लिटिल मोर रिलैक्स्ड. सो ये चीजें हैं जो आपको अडॉप्ट करनी पड़ेंगी टू रिड्यूस योर स्ट्रेस, बट इट इज पार्ट ऑफ द लाइफ. एंड वो कहते हैं ना कई बार ये स्ट्रेस आती हैं, वो कहते हैं कि आपको ऊपर उठाने के लिए भी आती हैं. तो ये लोगों को उस चीज को उस तरह लेना चाहिए. But stress is, I think the only thing is some people get more stress, some get less stress. वो तो किसी के हाथ में नहीं होता. You never know sometime. I mean, you see in your colleagues, some person has a much more family issues. किसी का बच्चे को कोई बीमारी हो तो क्या, ये तो बड़ा difficult to sort of say what are the reason, but I say you have to have an attitude to face stress and strains. And वो कहते हैं ना हमेशा रात के बाद दिन आएगा, तो इसलिए
That
take
is
that
very
kind
true.
of attitude. Yeah, these are temporary phases which everyone goes through, some less, some more. I know whether it answers your query, but this is what I sort of.
So Dr.
That's
Rajesh,
very true.
Dr. Talwar has
Yes.
put it very nicely. I will just add a couple of points to this, that there are two things, stress and depression. So stress is a normal part of life. Everybody has to go through a phase of stress. We have to face the stress through meditation, through yoga, through recreational activities. Playing is a beautiful activity to relieve stress, whatever form of game you may play. Friends is so these stresses are part of life, but there comes a problem of depression. Now, depression has been associated with high incidence of heart attacks. So depressive people have to be treated. So the cause of depression has to be found. They need some psychiatric or psychological help, because depression is a bad thing. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress gets the best out of you.
Thank you, sir. That is really very true. And if you allow, I would like to add one more stress buster here. That is to do the thing you enjoy. If you enjoy singing, you enjoy. If you like to dance, you dance. If you like to play, you play an instrument. So thank you so much. This was really very, very interesting. I'd request both of you to say a few words about the diet, because that is what everyone wants to listen. Ki sir, ये खाना चाहिए, ये नहीं खाना चाहिए, और खाना है तो इतना कैसे खाना है? Some few simple things, some specific things.
Right.
Both of you, sir.
So this is a very important point, because there are food fats. And जैसे मैंने कहा कि देसी घी कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट के मुंह से निकल रहा है कि खा सकते हो, people will have their eyes open, and this was not true. So you have to limit your calories. The first thing is limit your calories so your weight does not increase. Increase in weight
Exactly.
is very dangerous. Whatever you may eat, if it is increasing your weight, is bad for you. You don't have to think about it. Second message here is that sugar is as bad as desi ghee. We are ignoring sugar part of the diet. It is dangerous, deadly. It is a white poison. This is the fact. All sugary drinks have to be banned. They're very dangerous. So our children, our youngsters have to be taught. The third major important thing which youngsters have to forget is eat less fast food. All these people whom I am talking of, those IT, the software experts, those in offices, their stable diet is lunch, having a pizza, dinner on a pub, and eating fast food, which is high saturated fats, high salt, and high sugars. This is the diet which has to be given up completely. Third thing is that you would now see people just order on online. Zomato is there, just order anything. 9 out of 10 people at home at the present moment of time were during the lockdown, and even now are ordering online food, which is very, very risky. You should have fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, nuts in your house, cook them the way you want, oils we just discussed. So this is the best way to eat. No food is bad, too much of everything is bad.
Thank you, sir. That's very important. Talwar, sir?
You see, I'll just add in that, like for a non-vegetarian, we say don't take mutton. There's too much of, okay. I mean, red meat you should avoid. Fish or chicken, if you take, you must boil or make it like, don't too much of oils, fried kind of a thing. So these are, and in a vegetarian, the most important thing is the milk items. I think sweet as is rightly is the most, is the, I'll say, is a poison. We are not against fruits sweet is different, but the sweet and milk products, आप देखिए कितनी आजकल sweet shop का क्या हाल है, कैसे वो grow कर रही हैं, and they really motivate you by all kind of making different this, and sometimes this is when you take a sweet, you take small amount, you feel then tend to take more because your taste buds are stimulated to take more. So I think this is one area where, particularly in vegetarian, is the biggest culprit of the diet. And but some people are in the habit of taking small sweet thing after food, but then limit to more healthier ones. I mean, like maybe a good le lo thoda sa. But then another part is whatever you eat, I mentioned in the beginning also, you must consume. If you're not burning it, you're collecting inside the body, फिर तो वो आपको नुकसान ही करेगा. और particularly
That is
अगर
very true.
किसी की, if the family history of heart problem is there, they have to be more cautious, to be very frank. If somebody has a younger age heart attacks, they are more prone to kind of this. They have to be more cautious in their eating habits, in their exercise habits, and even monitoring their cholesterol levels, kind of a thing. So I think say जैसे कहा ना कि कहते हैं ना कैसे हमने डाइट को स्पॉइल किया है. मैंने कहा ना रोटी को परांठा बना दिया, चावल को हमने बिरयानी बना दिया, इडली को फ्राइड इडली हो गई, फिश को फिश पकौड़ा हो गया, फ्राइड फिश हो गई. So I mean, these are the kind of way we need to be careful, to be very frank, if you want to keep yourself healthy.
Thank you, sir. So is it good to, because fish is available now, is it good to eat fish every day or twice a week as we usually advise our patients?
Oh yes, you can. The only thing is that don't just fry the fishes. Take a kind of a boiled fish. I mean, so that you don't use too much of oil. Otherwise, fish has a good omega-3 acid, and it's good for the body. This is supposed to be good.
Thank you,
If
sir.
you can afford it properly, fresh fish. Sorry.
One more thing we have in plenty in winters out in the sabji bazaar is saag. How important it is to have saag, especially for people with heart diseases.
You see, अभी बोलने के साग का क्या नुकसान है? I don't know why saag is the only green vegetable.
Nuksan nahi.
I mean,
I just want people to understand that it should be had as frequently as often.
yes,
And the
oh yes, I
advantages of
don't. Only thing is, don't put too much of butter into that. That's the only thing. Otherwise, I think the saag is a healthy food.
So we understand that we have to have a lot of green vegetables, especially green leafy
Yeah.
vegetables, which are available during the winters, and a lot of fruits. And we should cut down on the refined foods, refined fats, and maida and these things, as Dr. Balbir Singh was also putting up. Any other message, sir, that you would, both of you would like to give to our listeners, that something they should be careful about, they should do or they should not do?
In
Any
the
message?
bakery items also is included in the sweets. The bakery items, so much of cakes, pastries, those also to be avoided.
So I
Well, I think
would
it's
request
said
both.
balanced diet, exercise, a sort of a attitude in life so that you keep your stress under control. Of course, a good sleep also they say is good, important. That's another issue. I think sleep issue sometime, and that's why people who are night these presently, I mean, have on sort of night duties. I mean, often night duties, not that occasional ones. So I think that's another issue. Sleep is another sort of important thing to keep healthy. So that's the, I won't say that you take tablets for sleep, but make yourself into in this, the habit that you get a proper and sound sleep.
Thank you, sir. That's really very important. Dr. Balbir sir, would you like to give a message to all our encapsulating everything that we've discussed, or adding on something also?
So my message is again that we have discussed everything and we understand that heart disease is preventable. So the most important message that I want to give is that heart disease is a preventable disease. It is in your hand how you handle your body, and it needs all these things that were discussed today. So inculcating this knowledge will only have a meaning if it is practiced.
That is very important. So I'm so thankful to you, Dr. Alwar and Dr. Balbir Singh, that you spared so much time and been present with us for such a long duration. Now I request Shri Anil Rajput ji to give a vote of thanks and summarize. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Talwar and Dr. Balbir Singh ji. You have spent so much of time and shared your learning and experience with all our audience. And I'm sure there are many takeaways that people would have noted for a good quality of life going forward, and especially how to take care of their heart better. Important things that you covered, that Corona taught us a lesson, that what is the importance of mask and sanitization. Whether tomorrow Corona is there or not there, we must inculcate these good habits in our lives going forward. And you also mentioned that people above the age of 70 must consider taking 2 vaccines, which will keep them healthy and happy going forward. Elderly people should be wearing masks even when they are sitting at home. A very important message that you gave, that people should ensure that their BP is always under control. And home reading of BP is a little more reliable and realistic, so people should monitor their BP regularly. Makki ki roti and sarson ka saag is a good thing that to have, but butter should be consumed in moderation and don't go overboard on that. Aloo paratha is a really no-no for people, because it doesn't help you. But at the end of the day, Dr. Talwar said that consume but burn. So if you can burn it, then you can consume it. But if you're not burning it, it is going to be hugely detrimental to your overall interest. People should exercise, do not use elevator, use stairs wherever possible. Have balanced diet, have good sleep, and overall, the best comment that was made, that it is a preventable disease. It is within on your own hands to prevent this disease, provided you take care and look after your health. And stress buster is your friends, your relative, and at the end of the day, it is your attitude. If you, for some reason, have depression, you must consult an expert so that you are properly given treatment. So many takeaways, and I like to once again thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts and knowledge and experience with all the audience. And ASSOCHAM and ASSOCHAM team would remain grateful to you. And I'll also like to thank Dr. Kesri for raising relevant issues for which all the audience were very interested, keep them totally gripped during the session. So thank you very much, Dr. Kesri. Thank you very much, Dr. Talwar and Dr. Balbir Singh ji. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye.